Morning everybody. As you can see, it's Nick. I'm a very blessed Nick. I am on holiday in a truly beautiful place in Cyprus. Sorry, I do look a bit that's another word for it, hungover this morning. They do make the best Negronis in the world here. But the things I wanted to share today, just some reflections, I think, on the menopause, and just trying to summarize what I think is really making some really big changes. And they haven't happened overnight, and they've been small incremental steps, but I've observed the last few months that my mental stability, my emotional stability, my energy levels, my general engagement with life has been much more stable. So first thing, which I found hugely reassuring and really helpful, is this book by Liz Earle. Now, I follow Liz Earle on Instagram, and she has two accounts. She has the Liz Earle account, and she also has the Liz Earle Wellbeing account. And the reason I love her, and I do genuinely love her, is it's really accessible. I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel like she's asking me to do stuff that, you know, only a movie star with a cast of thousands could do. I don't feel like she's portraying a role model that's not achievable in front of me. I love the way she does. She's a lot of sound bites, a lot of really accessible thing. Her book has just come out, and I have to say I think it is probably one of the best books out there, because we've kind of narrowed down the menopause to the menopause. And I really like the way she's blasted open the conversation and basically said, this is it. This is about how we live the rest of our life in a much better quality. And the menopause really is a transition for us. And there's all of these different aspects. I mean, she's always been a real groundbreaking person in terms of looking at us from a holistic perspective. So I think her book is superb in terms of bringing it into one place. It's a bit like a Bible now. I don't go without it. And her Instagram tips and stuff is just bloody brilliant in terms of top tips. So why do I think I'm feeling better? What are the things that feel solid and sustainable? I'll try and do them in a list that doesn't feel too overwhelming, because I've been now menopausal for 7 years. So I've been on this journey for 7 years. So number one, I think there is absolutely a very strong need for all women to have access from the medical and biological aspect to menopause experts. So I think from the more classic medical perspective, in terms of how we, sorry, I'm just shifting, I'm a bit uncomfortable, of how we support our biological and physical needs as our hormones reduce and play havoc with us. I think that's really important. My menopause consultant is a qualified endocrinologist, and I think and I also have access to a gynecologist. So my gynecologist actually physically puts my HRT implants in. I have implants because my body started rejecting the topical HRT just because I've been using it for so long, and implants bypass the liver. So that's really important. And my menopause consultant, very much, he's the navigator really. He's looking at all of my blood results and all of my different bodily functions, and listening to my symptoms and working out, you know, what's happening, where I am and what I need. And I think that medical support has been massive, absolutely massive. The other thing my menopause consultant does, which I really adore, and I don't know if you would get in every menopause consultant, but he's very holistic. He looks at kind of mind, body and soul. And I think that's the second point, is that and this doesn't just apply to the menopause, I think this applies to actually any illness. I'm waiting for, today gets delivered, I think, the Miranda Hart book, and I think it's called I'm Not Being Entirely Honest With You. She's had a really difficult time and a really chronic illness. Obviously haven't read the book yet, but the ethos of it is very much about when we get ill, when we don't feel ourselves, when our bodies are struggling. It is mind, body and soul. It is looking at it as a holistic whole. The other person who writes beautifully about this, and I've mentioned before, and is absolute. So maybe the second theme I'm talking about is educating and empowering ourselves to look beyond what we already know. So I don't think westernised medicine on its own is really going to make menopause okay on its own. I think it's one of the things that's really important. But I think empowering and educating ourselves in a much more holistic way, to treat ourselves in a much more holistic way, is really important. And so on that basis, I would say Gabor Mate is absolutely top of the pile. He's actually a trauma expert, palliative care physician, but he basically says you can't treat the body without treating the mind, and he's spot on. And I found his book resonated. I mean, he's got several books. The Myth of Normal is the one that I use very much as a reference, as a go-to. Really resonated with me, and one of the big things he talks about in there is, particularly with women, repressed emotion, repressed healthy anger, and also the ability to be our authentic selves. And I think all of us talk about a lot in the menopause, this rage, this real rage that comes through, and I wonder if that, I think the link for me was when he talked about the repressed healthy anger and being our authentic selves. And I think that's one of the things that happens to us in the menopause. I think, the padding's off. So I think there's a lot of emotional and psychological work that's really helpful. And I think a massive step for me was just educating myself in terms of looking at I hesitate to use the word recovery, because I don't think of myself as broken. But in terms of helping myself with the transition and the change, which is what the menopause is, Gabor Mate is absolutely top of the list. Liz Earle is definitely up there for me. And I'm really, really excited about the Mind the Heart book. I'll let you know. So I guess that's the second thing. I think the third thing is the environment and lifestyle we find ourselves in. And I think there's two massive factors that I've really fundamentally changed and I'm really finding helps me. First of all, this environment of go, 40, 50 hour weeks, always having to-do lists, always having noise, multifunctioning demands on our time. I think it's really harmful and is one of the reasons our nervous system is on high alert all the time, and therefore our cortisol is through the roof, and our orchestra of hormones is just out of tune. It's all over the place. So one of the big pieces of advice my menopause consultant gave me was that our adrenaline system needs replenishing every 4 hours. And the only way to replenish that is to physically lay down. And there's something else that happens. We think we're getting sleep, but very often we are not getting the right quality of sleep. So we're not really getting our nervous system. It's kind of like the immersion heater. It's constantly on and heating the water. That's the best way to think of it. And we've got to find a way to turn it off. So his advice, which has been probably one of the most transformative things over the last few months, is that every afternoon, and for me it's at about 3 o'clock. Now I know this is difficult if you work full time, and I think this is a whole conversation that we need to be having with employers about how to support menopausal women and how to create a better working environment as this is possible. But actually I need to go and lay down in a very quiet place for 30 minutes, and I play just on my Alexa, I play Reiki healing music, something that is at the right frequency. So there's different frequencies in music. So very often with yoga music, Reiki healing music, gong or sound baths, if you've been to them, which I think are brilliant, the frequency that they operate at is a frequency that actually helps our brain come down. It helps the nervous system calm down. So I don't actually sleep for that 30 minutes. It's not it's a bit like a yin. I don't know if anybody's done Nidra yoga, which is like the yoga sleep. You're not really asleep, but there's definitely something where you've come down and, you're just really in an off position. And I find that doing that every day, and I've been doing that every day consistently now for several months, has been life-changing in terms of my energy levels, in terms of my psychological state, my resilience, my ability to cope, my anxiety, my angst. That's really important. And my aches and pains. On the days when I don't do it, so there have been a few days of late when I haven't been able to do it because I've got lots of building work going on at home, so some days just... But if I don't do it, by the time I get to 6 o'clock, honest to God, I feel like I've done 25-mile marathon or actually been hit by a bus. The physical symptoms are acute, really acute. My head's banging. I've got cramps and aches and pains in my neck. The bottom of my back is killing me. It's like I'm a different person. And so there is definitely something in managing our nervous system and managing having that 30-minute time out at some point in the day. If you work full time, maybe it's something you could do in your lunch hour. Might not be the easiest place in the world to find somewhere to lay down, but even just sitting down, putting some headphones on and listening to the right frequency music, I think for me is a game changer. I think the other thing as well is I've stopped beating myself up about this whole middle-aged spread, BMI, fat, blah blah, fucking blah. No, not interested. So I've had two quite bad sporting injuries now, both of which, one of which was in my 40s, one was last year, torn Achilles tendon and torn cartilage in my knee. And I remember actually a consultant, a really wise guy, saying to me, it's really important to keep fit, but we're all trying to do this anti-aging stuff, which is effectively just bollocks. Like, we're going to age whether we like it or not. So what's important is that the fitness we do befits the age that we're at. So it works in tandem and it supports our body. And Lizzo talks a lot about this. So yoga is just a foundational thing for me. It is just something I do. I don't do the wham bam power yoga, kill myself type yoga. I actually do something called forest yoga, which is very much it's a flow yoga, but it's a slower flow yoga, and it's very much about building your strength and healing your body. So I like authentic, genuine yoga. I don't want to do the wham bam westernized power, which is effectively a cardio workout. And the research shows that actually the HIIT workouts and stuff like that, it's not always so great as you get older. So I do that, and that is a non-negotiable because it's a 75-minute class, which I like because it's as much about your mind as it is your body, and it really takes you into a space where you're focusing on your breathing, and you're also focusing on being very mindful about activating certain parts of your body, and it is quite hard. You have to hold positions, and you do build strength up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I have started doing a lot more resistance weights, basically. I'm very blessed. So my husband and I have done this together, and we've joined a really lovely gym. And at the minute we do 2 sessions a week. And again, it's not any, killing ourselves thing. It is basically, we generally tend to use free weights, because what we are doing is we are building strength for getting older. So all of the exercises we focus on are keeping parts of our body strong and the muscle mass good, so that we don't get injuries, we don't have the falls. And free weights are really good at that, because your body, I think there's a special word, bio something or other, your body's working in the way it should do. Lizzo talks a lot about it, and she's got some brilliant tips, such as when you clean your teeth, stand on one leg for 30 seconds, then stand on the other leg for 30 seconds, because balance is really, really important as you age. If you're just pottering around doing something, just stop and do 10 squats, because it's really, really important to be able to keep that mobility and function, to be able to stand up and down. She also talks about, again, I'm blessed, I do have a it's just one of these above ground outside pools. Didn't, you know, we bought it a few years ago actually in lockdown. It's like a big plastic one on a metal frame, and we did invest in some good filters and whatever, and actually I leave that out for the winter. And she's definitely taught something in this about walking outside, making sure you ground yourself each day. So I really like the feeling of bare feet on the grass, on the earth. Doesn't mean I have dirty feet a lot, but there's grounding, and there's something about the electrolytes from the earth's energy. But also what I have committed to do when I get home is I'm not going to put the cover on the pool over the winter. Each morning, as soon as I wake up, I'm just going to put my costume on. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to get in the cold water, probably just for 2 or 3 minutes tops. But what I do find is it absolutely ding afterwards. The surge of energy and clarity I get is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I've done cold water swimming for a few years actually in the local lake, and I did one winter swim. And do you know where it went wrong? Was because I was being all competitive with myself, because I've been a swimmer for a long time, and I thought, I'll train for the ice mile. And I actually ended up with mild hypothermia one day, which did really scare me. But in terms, and again, it's this competitive, beating yourself up, you have to do this. Bollocks to that. What I actually need to do is the cold water dip in the morning. You know, some mornings it might be 30-40 seconds. You know, it definitely shouldn't be too long when it gets really, really cold. Cold water swimming can be really dangerous. There is a health and safety warning here. So I've done a course on cold water. I have done a winter in a lake with a community. I do summer cold water. It is really important to do your research and know what you're doing, and do not stay in cold water for too long, because it can be really fucking dangerous. I know, and believe me, it was a horrible experience getting this hypothermia. But I'm just going to pop in each morning, quick dip, and I really get a surge from that. So I think, again, there's something around this narrative of, you know, we have to do this, we have to do this much cardio, go running, and actually, no, I'm not interested in getting fit to look like a supermodel 20 or 30 years younger than me. Not that I ever did 20 or 30 years ago, actually. Although, you know, yeah, I was rocking a fair body 20 or 30 years ago. I'm not interested in all that bollocks. I'm quite happy to look 52 years old. I am really, really interested in aging well. I am really, really interested in looking after my body so it can look after me. And that's a really big shift in mindset. And what I've found is I actually really look forward to doing stuff. I really look forward to going to yoga. I look forward to going to the gym a couple of times a week with my husband, because, you know, it's not something that crucifies me. And when I'm doing my exercises, whether, you know, I might be doing some lunges or some squats or, you know, some arm raises or whatever, it feels nice. It feels nice because it feels nice to feel strong and not to feel like a broken, old, menopausal woman, this bollocks aging narrative we have around us. It feels really nice. It's really empowering. And it's empowering without having to compete and be better than anybody else. It's a thing you're doing for yourself. So I think there's a really big deal around the environment and quieting it, you know, doing the exercise that befits and is right for us as we age, taking the breaks, simplifying our life, doing less, sitting in silence. You know, the number of people I speak to who just can't concentrate on a book, you know, I find it's one of the best therapies, and it's been hugely life-changing, is going back to reading. I've always been a big reader. For many years I wasn't able to do it because I just couldn't concentrate, too much stimuli, too many things in my mind. I make a real effort now, so I've created a space in my home which is effectively my reading space, and everything else is shut out when I go in there. And reading gives me a level of peace and escapism that I just don't get if I'm watching TV. So I guess that's what I wanted to share. I'm going to stop because this is getting very long. Oh my God, I think it's one of my longest, 20 minutes. But it really has hit me of late that my quality of life is starting to feel an awful lot better. And better than it has done. So it's not just the HRT. That is one part of the jigsaw. But I think, and I don't think this is just for menopausal women, I think this is for human beings. The environment we live in is not nourishing us as human beings. And I think that one of the great things actually about the menopause is it is teaching me how to create an environment and a life that nourishes me as a human and allows me to live as fully and as best as I can for as long as I can. So I hope that's given some hope and comfort to anybody who's listening to this, and just to say thank you so much for anybody who does listen, or even just allows me to put this stuff out there without me getting beaten up. I don't get beaten up by loads of horrible comments, because it really lifts me up. It really lifts me up being able to kind of create this ripple and share stuff that I think might be good. Okay, lots of love. Take care.